We're Laura and Cindy, and you're listening to the Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry podcast, where we talk about natural horsekeeping and deepening your connection with your horse. I'm Laura, your horse care mentor. I teach natural horse management practices after working with over 200 horses and seeing how current industry standards are compromising the health of the horse.
And I'm Cindy, your horsemanship mentor, offering a proven and unique approach to creating deep connections with your horses from 20 plus years of experience, including working with wild Mustangs. If you enjoy this conversation, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening to us so we can get this podcast into the ears of more passionate horse people. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different than usual. We often focus on our horses, and today we're going to focus on the human part of the partnership and the relationship. I'm going to share with all of you what I am currently going through in my personal life. I'm not going to get deep and dirty into the details, but I'm going to get vulnerable and honest and real. And I live on a beautiful 9-acre ranch in Genoa, Nevada. We've been here for 11 years. And relocating here in of itself was a pivotal moment in our lives when we left our home in Truckee and came here because of my dream to explore doing more with horses and less with veterinary work. And it's been an amazing 11 years. There's been tremendous opportunities with wild horses. There's been lots of growth in my horsemanship, lots of personal development, and several very, very devastating physical injuries that has come along with it. It's not what today's about. What today is about is that we lease this property, and our lease is coming due in August. So in like
2 months.
2 months. And our landlord has decided not to renew it. And he's given us 4 months to find somewhere for us, our 11 horses, our house full of animals, and our veterinary practice and my business. And that was caught us by surprise, sort of. I had a gentle nudging in the fall of last year as I was sitting out filling my water troughs in the evening, which is one of my favorite times of the day to sit out there with my cat and my horses and just look at all of this amazing stuff we have. We live in an incredible valley, and the view we have looks over the valley. And I got this gentle nudging from spirit, God, higher self, that is for you. We all have that inner voice. And the gentle nudging I got was, the thought I had was, this is so incredible. This is such a beautiful place, and what an amazing journey this has been. And I got this quiet, gentle voice that said, you've outgrown this valley. It's time to leave. And that caught me by surprise. And I took some deep breaths and was aware of what that was stirring up inside of me. And the only response I could have was, well, where do I go? And I got the response of a place in California that meant a lot to my husband and I. It's actually where we got married. And my initial reaction was California. I didn't think we'd ever go back to California. And then after I thought about it, it was like, California is a good place to be because of its environment, its weather, its climate, it can be expensive, but not all parts of California are expensive. And so we set out on our exploration when we found out in April that we were not having our lease renewed. And It has been a roller coaster of emotions. And I am a horsemanship mentor and a life coach. And I have found myself being called to use all of the tools that I teach on myself and finding that I was often in this state of fear, and uh, my autonomic nervous system was in fight or flight, chronic fight or flight. And I could see that it was affecting my herd of 11 horses when I would go out there. Not in a way that they were like really overtly displaying odd behaviors, but in a way that there was like this unspoken tension. And I was afraid. I was afraid for them. I was afraid for us. I was running the gamut of emotions, being pissed off, being scared, being excited, all these things. And I found myself for a while avoiding my horses, just getting out there, getting their chores done, and coming back in because I, one, was feeling like I had failed them, and two, scared to death, like what's going to happen to them. But what happened that kind of changed that for me was I noticed them quietly seeking me out when I did go. Whereas before, they all have their personalities and they all show up um, pushy or playful or um, wanting attention, but they all just kind of had this new level of presence. And when I paused to feel what I was feeling out there, I realized that my horses were feeling everything I was feeling, not as their feelings, but as the energy. They're such energetic beings that they could feel the shift in me and they didn't quite know what to do with it.
So do
Um,
you think that higher level of presence was in support of you? Were they searching out for the old you? What was,
I think it was more in support of me.
okay.
I don't think that they were um, looking for the person that I have always been in the past. You know, I think they were just kind of like, hey, we notice you. Can you notice me?
Yeah.
Type thing,
Yeah.
you know? And when I would stop and be with them, instead of finding the comfort that I have always felt, I was aware of the tension in my body, the clamping down, the constriction, the guarded, the protected. And it wasn't that I was doing all of that in response to them. They were giving me like a neutral, loving bubble because we all have our energy bubbles, and when you come together with your horse, you've now created this one energetic bubble. And it was weird because I could feel like they were trying to, and for lack of a better way to help you guys all understand this, it was almost as if my horses were giving me this energetic hug. It wasn't a physical contacting my body. It was at one moment that really stands out for me with one of my mares, Dreamcatcher, who does a lot of my women empowerment workshops with me, and I've seen her do amazing work. when I stepped into her presence to do fly spray and, check her over, it felt like I was stepping into a warm pool of water. And it caught me by surprise because, my nervous system was so on fire with fear and so in that got to figure this out, that fight or flight, that it was like it felt like a warm pool of water, but it was the shock as if you jumped into a cold lake.
Mm.
It's kind of crazy to describe it, but it was shocking enough that I just kind of stopped and I paused and I breathed, and she just stood with me. She didn't need me to touch her. She didn't try to do anything. She just held the space for me to breathe. And it was in that moment that I did what we call a body scan, where I checked in with my head and felt all the tension in my head. And then I checked in with my heart and I could feel it like completely clamped down. And then checked into that power center, that gut space, that 2 inches, 3 inches below your belly button and back into your spine, that grounding place. And it was almost like concrete. And I was like, wow, I am just totally going through the motions in survival mode. That set me out on quieting my mind and just sitting with my horses and asking myself, if I were one of my horses, or if I were a horse that somebody brought to me that was in such fight or flight that every nerve in their body was firing off, how would I be there for that horse? And I realized that I often do that, not only for myself, but for my clients when I'm working with them through difficult situations, is I will often imagine that that person is a horse and how will I approach it? And apparently for me, that's better. That works better. But what I realized was I would just start breathing.
Mm.
I would just focus on my breath. Because what that horse in that moment would need would be a soft space to feel safe. And could I offer that to myself? And how would I do that? So the first thing I did was I picked the pasture of horses that I have every pasture I have, well, not every pasture, two of my pastures I have my healing mares, my team that works with empowering women. So I picked the pasture that didn't have the two double trouble boys who would not hold the space for me in the way that I needed it to be. And I went out and I just sat down and I just started breathing and realizing how constricted, how hard it was to breathe. And how my mind wanted to race. You don't have time for this. You got to da 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 da. Just pull your big girl, pull up your big girl panties and get through this and all this chatter. And I thought to myself, wow, I have heard this over and over again in my clients, and I have felt this over and over in my own life. And how can I make this different?
Mm.
How can I get through this? Not just get through this moment of discomfort, but how can I prove to my reptilian part of my brain that fight or flight part of me, that I am truly okay. Because we want to go to that fake it till you make it, right? Pull on your big girl panties and just plow through. And there's that works.
Until it doesn't, and you crash.
Right.
It's like taking the horse out on the trail that has no business being out on the trail and then being surprised when they explode.
Right. Because now you're both in that fake. Well, you're
Yeah.
in that fake it till you make it, and your horse is like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
You know? And I love that you said that, because what really happens is, and I've been doing it, not as much as I once did, but I'm still doing it, where I am trying to convince my physical, emotional body that we've got this. If I can just ride through this discomfort I'm feeling in my body, that fear is triggering, that confusion is triggering, that all those crazy ass negative emotions are triggering, and thoughts, because the thoughts drive the emotions. If I can just ride this wave, then everything's going to be fine and I can go on about my day. But our horses know better. And so I noticed that as I was sitting there breathing with my horses, when I would really get into my gut and breathe deep down into my belly and out through the soles of my feet, which is grounding, having our feet on the earth is grounding, focusing on our breath is grounding. My horses that were standing with me would start matching my deep breaths. And then here would come a wave of thoughts of, you don't have time for this, you better get out there, just, you guys know, we all have our own Rolodex carousel of those thoughts that race through our head that sabotage us. But what I was noticing as I was able to get back into my body and things were settling down and I could feel the tension in my body relaxing, I could feel the horses around me relaxing. And then it was if I was sitting alongside the ocean. So visualize with me, I'm sitting on the edge of the ocean. And I'm watching the vastness of the ocean and I'm watching those waves come in. And the waves started to represent my emotions and my thoughts. And I would watch a wave come in and I would like, ooh, that's going to be a big one. And I'd watch it build and it'd build and it would grow. And then it would crash right at the, closer to me. And then the water would wash up on me and, that cold reaction of the water washing over me. And that shock, that physical shock your body feels. That, and then the water recedes, right? And the waves go away. And then you're left kind of going, oh, okay, wow, that was intense, right? Well, that's what was happening when I was witnessing those emotions coming in and the thoughts that were creating those emotions and watching my horses, not watching, that's not the right word, hearing my horses' breaths get shorter and faster as I was witnessing those negative thoughts washing over, trying to like wash me out to sea of unknown, sea of that fight or flight. Really, I mean, I was full on fight or flight. And the more that I just sat still and witnessed my horses witnessing me, I became more grounded in the present moment. And I could feel the changes happening in my physical body, the softening, my chest wasn't so constricted. It was beginning to be easier to breathe. And my mind, I'm prone to having headaches because of an injury I had in 2017. And I could feel the constriction in my head softening and my gut softening. And then here would come another wave. And so we talk in our podcast a lot, or I do more than Laura, about awareness, physical awareness, horse awareness, environment awareness. And for me, the environment had always been what's going on around you, right? The horses are so tuned in to what's going on in their environment. That's how they survive. That's how they know when things are safe, when a predator is coming and all that stuff. But in that moment, I realized that both my horses and I, were responding to my internal environment.
Because whether we know it or not, whatever's going on with us is part of our horse's environment that they're having to work within, our energetic state, all the time.
Right.
Out of their control.
Ready to unlock true freedom with your horse? Join Unbridled Freedom, our private Facebook group for women on a spiritual journey in horsemanship. We don't fix our horses, we transform ourselves. This is your space to embrace challenges, celebrate victories, and deepen your bond with your horse. If you're ready to lead with wisdom, compassion, and inner peace, join us today. Let's dance with our horses as one. The link is in the show notes below. Right. And then it was like, well, how is my internal environment different than my self-awareness? You know, and I'm still processing through that because that is pretty deep. But the visual that's coming to me now, and you guys, this is raw and real. This is not scripted. I woke up, I've spent the afternoon sleeping with a migraine. So I am not, this is real raw and unprepared, unfiltered. But what's coming to me when I think about the difference between my internal environment, or, you know, our horse's internal environment, but we're going to stick with me as much as my mind would like to go somewhere else. The example that I think of is, let's take for a moment the outer environment. All right. So we're riding down a dirt trail and we see something in the distance and it's a dirt devil. You know, it's like one of those little mini tornadoes, right? And it's heading right for us. And so both I and my horse see it coming. And we are preparing for it, but we don't really know what to do, right? Where's it going to go? Is it going to go left, right, die, or hit us? And do we move? And, you know, so there's all this stuff firing off. Like, what do we do? How do we react to this? So when we have, for me in that moment, when I realized it was my internal environment, it was that same thing. And my horses felt it and were aware of it long before I was. So they start reacting or responding based on who they are and when in that moment, right? We don't know. And then that brings my attention to them, not me. But in that moment where this was all going on, I was like, this is the perfect scenario of when you're out on the trail and something in your environment is spooking the hell out of both of you. And what do? Because you have to have all that awareness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the golden number one golden rule, because I think there's a lot of golden rules, is your breath. You've got to go back into breathing, because in a moment like that, your body is tense and your nervous system wants to go into fight or flight. Humans, when we go into fight or flight, we clamp down. We dig our feet into the sand. We are not moving. Where horses are exactly the opposite. When they get fight or flight, reptilian part of their brain, if they can, key words, if they can, they're gonna skedaddle. If they can't, then they're gonna be like fighting it, right? And so bringing my awareness back to my breath and breathing helped me to ground. And again, I go back to the sea, that wave, watching that wave build and let it wash over me, and trust that through my breath and being grounded, we're going to be okay. Am I rambling, Laura? Does this make any sense? She's nodding her head.
Yeah.
I was waiting for an escape.
You're not going to get one.
Oh, shit. So I have been going through lots and lots of moments like that. And what really made me want to share this with all of you is I don't think I'm alone. Actually, that was very ambivalent. I know that I'm not alone because I've written some books, and I talk a lot about them. I'm putting, post on them about things that are going on in the books, and people are resonating. I'm doing a lot of Facebook posting. If you're not following me and Laura, there's lots of posts on Facebook about this current journey that I'm in right now, which is probably the most intense one I've ever been through. And I've been through a lot. There's a lot of us out there that are having this internal struggle with what's going on in our lives. Mm-hmm. And you're all here because you have horses. And how do our horses play a role in that? We have been taught that our horses are, get on and ride, take care of them, work them, exercise them, feed them right, stimulate them emotionally, always them, them, them. But if we don't take care of us, then our horses, no matter how much we do for them, aren't mentally and emotionally stable. And it's a direct reflection of us. And the coaching that I do with women with the horses is the horses are the mirrors. So I'm like, I had a wise spiritual teacher tell me years ago, turn the tool back on itself. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? What the hell does that mean? Well, horses are not my tool. Horses are my partners. And horses will reflect back to us that we're not seeing in ourselves. And often it's a good thing they're reflecting back to us, right? When they meet us in the pasture with excitement and trust and connection, and it makes our heart burst open, and we just want to hug them and love them because they make us feel so good. Well, that is a reflection of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
If we weren't offering that, they wouldn't be reflecting that back to us. And how do we know that to be true? You can watch the same horse have somebody else come walking through your space while you're grooming them or something, and they tense up.
Yeah.
Or it's a horse out in the pasture and three people walk out there and the horse gravitates to one person and the other two is like, don't touch me.
Yes.
You know?
Good.
So that is the mirror.
You're all pissed
Reflecting.
off from your bad day at work and you show up and your horse is ignoring you.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a reflection. And we take it, it's interesting because we take it personally, but not really. Our ego gets upset and hurt, and then we take it out on the stupid horse. What's wrong with you today? Why are you being a jerk? You know?
right.
Because it's so much easier to look outward, right? We don't want to look inward. And so I was thinking about, I'm in a really, really hard, vulnerable place, and my horses know it. And right now we don't have answers. We have some ideas, but we don't have anything in concrete writing that says this is it, right? So I'm in the process of manifesting one of my biggest dreams I've ever had. And at the same time, I've got this shit show storm going on inside. Some days I'm on top of the world. I'm so empowered. I'm so certain. I know exactly what we're doing. And my horses are like, oh, thank God, there you are. And then other days like today, I'm just a mess of doubt and fear and confusion and panic. And so going back to turn the tool on itself or allow my horses to mirror to me what I need in that moment. And in order to be able to do that, I have to be willing to breathe and to be grounded. No matter how hard it is, I have to be willing to take those deep breaths. And, Laura and I teach people how to breathe deep into your belly and let out all the stress through the soles of your feet. And you know what? When you're in fight or flight, you can't get that breath past your chest.
And your reptilian brain is doing everything it can to convince you that this breathing exercise is stupid and useless and not going to work. So we better just skip it.
Exactly. Because if you don't dare relax, you're in fight or flight. You're
right.
Your life
you keel over and die if you take that breath. So you better not.
So, working on just that so that I can go out and be with my horses or doing that in the presence of my horses can be a challenge. But the desire to move past this, to connect back with my horses, because my horses, since I was 11 years old, have been my rock. They have what's kept me alive. They have what has kept me going. They have been my greatest teachers. So the last thing I want to do is shut them out. And also reminding myself that I am this life coach, horsemanship mentor, use your tools. That would be turn the tools back on itself, right? I teach these tools, but can I use them? And going out there and practicing that sometimes lately has been really successful. And I have felt a lot of grounding and a lot of releasing and witnessing the ego wanting to analyze it, judge it, grade it. That's probably a C today. All that crap.
You slayed your demons at a solid D+ today. Good job. Let's pause for a moment. Have you ever looked at your horse and wondered if they're thriving in your care? Is there more you can do to give them the best life possible? Most ranches and boarding facilities are set up for convenience, not horse health. but there's tons you can do to fix your horse's situation if you're willing to get creative. Join Evidence-Based Horsekeeping, my Facebook group where members learn how to improve the mental and physical well-being of their horses. The link is in the show notes.
And just being with my horses, sometimes it's just sitting on the outside of the fence because I don't want that connection, which in of itself is interesting, right? Because they're my rock, but there's a part of me that's like, I don't want to be close to them. So there's something inside not wanting to let go. And I had that the other day, and I started thinking, if I were a horse, what would that mean? Because I'm sitting in discomfort. I want it to go away. But it's so familiar. Everything I've been feeling, you guys, is all shit I have been feeling since my first introduction to abuse as a small child. Sitting there in that moment, realizing I didn't want to go in with my horses. But that is what I needed the most, was that connection with my horses to help me over this extreme, familiar discomfort that has caused so much physical ailments. I thought of the horses. And I can include us too, because we are just so parallel. Horses have their comfort zone. And it's their comfort zone, not because it's necessarily comfort and brings them ease and settles the autonomic nervous system from fight or flight into that my world is safe. It's comfort because it's been consistent and it's reliable.
A lot of horses stall is their comfort zone, even though it causes them to display all kinds of wild stress behaviors all the time.
Right.
It's normal to them. That level of stress and unsafety is normal. So my nervous system expects it and needs it.
Right. Because the nervous system is so incredibly trainable if you can breathe through interrupting the pattern. But I, like horses, was in this comfort zone. And even though most of my being and inner self, my intuition, wants to move beyond this and not have to deal with it so viscerally all the time, there was that reptilian part of me that was like, don't go in there. Don't go in there. And when I stopped and I pulled myself out of me and thought of, if this were one of my horses, what is going on? And it's like the burning building, the burning barn. Okay? You have a barn that's burning and you're rescuing and pulling all the horses out and turning them loose so they'll run, and they turn around and run right back into the burning building. Even though they physically feel the heat, their mind is, like, this is not safe, but that reptilian part of them, that is where their comfort is. And that's what was happening to me that day. And I had to recognize, wow, this is crazy. This is crazy. And all I have to do is take one step towards their corral, which was hard. So I took that step, and then I took the next step, and I was aware that instead of feeling comfort, my heart was racing, which was insane. This is my herd. I would trust my life with any of these horses, but in that moment, it was all I could do, you guys, to take those steps in. And when I stepped inside, my heart was racing. My mind was spinning and my body was tense. And I thought to myself, this is what we put our horses through all the time. When we ask them to get into the trailer, go over the water, go through the gate, go into that arena at a clinic, take that dark spot on the trail. We ask them to do it all the time, and we don't have any idea what's viscerally going on inside of them, which is very real. This moment of having to step into my pasture that I've been doing for 11 freaking years. I'm getting emotional. Was if I was stepping into a complete world of unknown. And so I stepped inside and I stood still and I felt what I was feeling and honoring myself as I would one of my horses or a wild Mustang. And that may sound crazy, you guys, but try it, because I had to find something that I love more than life itself to find the compassion and the willingness to stand still. And that's my horses. And so standing there, I realized that what was so freaking scary was stepping into that pasture in that moment represented stepping off this property with my entire herd, my entire 11 years of life here, into the unknown. And I wasn't just responsible for me, I'm responsible for all of us. And I don't know what the hell we're going to do. And I'm not just responsible for me, I'm responsible for all of us. And when I realized that, I felt a huge shift in my body, like a weight came off. My 4 horses, who Rocky is one of them, and they don't always get along with him. He's still kind of on the outside. They all surrounded me in that moment, and they just sat with me. And I wanted to run, I wanted to leave, I wanted to interrupt the pattern of discomfort. The discomfort was my nervous system resetting and recalibrating to I'm actually safe. I stepped over that threshold and my horses are right here with me, and none of us really know what's going on in this moment, but we're all okay. And feeling the sensation of wanting to turn around and run back into the burning barn. But knowing that I didn't want to go back into the burning barn, knowing that that was not safe, that this, as uncomfortable as it was actually my new safety. And so that was a huge revelation. It was a lot of self-awareness and being willing to stand still in the discomfort and not force myself and not be mean to myself and not call myself stupid and not coddle myself and give me an out. All of the things we do to our horses unconsciously on a regular basis. And all my horses asked me to do that day was just show up in all my mess and stand still and breathe with them. And a lot of days, you guys, right now, that's all I can do. And then other days, I feel on top of the world, and I know we've got this, and I know that that trail we've never walked before, as scary and unknown as it is, is where our next home is.
So Cindy and I met in 2020 and just clicked instantly because we had very similar horsemanship philosophies, and we're both like fairly seriously on a journey of personal development. We had big dreams. We knew we had to make big things happen, and we started doing that. And to watch Cindy kind of come to this culmination of all the work in 2020, if I had a meeting with Cindy, it was 50-50 whether she was going to make it or whether she was going to be down with a migraine. Since April, she has been down less with migraines than ever in our relationship, even though she's been under more stress than any person should. And it's just such a huge example of what she talks about, the breath work, the awareness, the sitting with it. It works. And we started this podcast because neither Cindy or I believe that you can be successful with horses without being willing to look within yourself and take responsibility for your side of the aisle. This is why we talk about this stuff. They can feel us, they know us. It is our job to know us and feel us so that we're not trying to lie to ourselves. They know if we're lying to them. They know it immediately, but we can get really good at lying to ourselves. And what Cindy just outlined in a very raw manner is, I'm done lying to myself. I'm going to show up authentically and own it and honor it and move forward with it. That's the way. That is the way of success with your horses. And this is a very intense example, but you have to live it like this if you want to have the depth of connection and enjoyment with horses that we want you all to have.
Thank you for summarizing that, Laura. This was really hard to do, but I am a firm believer that I will not ask my clients to do anything I'm unwilling to do. And I will not ask my horses to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself.
Yeah.
And, life is messy. Yeah. We're messy. Horses are messy. We all have our baggage. And we all feel so alone.
Yeah.
So alone, like nobody gets me. I'm not reaching out because nobody gets me. But I hope by me being willing to be messy, it helps you all understand you're not alone. We're not alone. We have different details, but the journey is similar. We all have our burning barn. So thank you guys for listening, and I will share as the journey progresses. But for now, that's where I'm at. So if you have any questions about the topics covered in this episode, send us a message on our Facebook page, Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry, and we will answer your question in a post on our page. You will be anonymous. We'll just take the question and provide our input, and we want to do it on the post so that we can all learn and grow together, because nobody knows everything. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. We want to remind you that we'll be here every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, following the golden rule. Have a plan, but always be willing to be flexible. Don't forget to connect with us using the links in the show notes below.
If you learned something new today, had an aha, or walked away with a valuable nugget, you can say thanks by leaving us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on.